What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Frozen Pirate Podcast. We have a great episode lined up for you guys today. The one, the only, Chris Mathis. How's it going, brother?
Man, I'm doing really good, man. Really appreciate you having me hop aboard once again, the Frozen Pirate Podcast. Excited to talk some football with you, man. And let's get set for a 2025 season, a year in which the Bucs hope to take that next step, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Like I said, I'm excited because it's that time of the year. Because for a long time, Chris, being Buccaneer fans, our Super Bowl was like the draft. And now, like, it's not, we don't get that feeling anymore. Now we're like competing every year, and this year's draft class feels a little bit different. We're going to be breaking down individual picks. We have a good show lined up for you guys. So, again, we appreciate you guys joining us here. Chris pops in once in a while on the Frozen Pirate Podcast. Make sure you guys go follow Chris Mathis on all social media platforms. But let's get right into it. Chris, with the first pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2025 draft, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. What were your thoughts going through your head? Because nobody expected this, including myself. I was looking defense, but they picked a wide receiver. What's your thoughts?
Initially, I was taken back. Just, wow, okay, they did what I thought was unthinkable. I didn't see it in the cards whatsoever. Even if Egbuka was the best player on the board at the time, according to the Bucs, I didn't see them going that route because they just locked up Chris Godwin, a 3-year extension. Mike Evans still here. I know he's getting older, but still performing at a high level. Then you had Jalen McMillan doing his thing late in the season last year. I really liked what I saw there. So the first, I would say 5-6 minutes after the pick, I was sitting there contemplating, what did they just do? And I actually on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, I had it drafted out. The Bucs take Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. I love this
pick. That was my pick too.
I was ready to go, bro. I was ready to send out the tweet. You and I on the same page there. And I really had like my finger on the send as soon as they said the 19 is in. And I'm like, thank goodness I waited because Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. And then after the next couple of picks went by, I thought, okay, this is good for the Bucs. As much as it was a shock to me that they didn't go defense first, this is good for the Bucs because they're adding depth, and not just depth, but quality depth, and a guy who in a year or two can really be that next guy. Mike Evans at some point, unfortunately, will face father time, and then unfortunately will retire. Chris Godwin coming off a pretty big ankle injury. How will he come back? Will he be the guy we saw for the first couple of weeks last year? That's still the unknown. We think and hope so, but in reality, we'll only know once he steps out onto the field. So Emeka Egbuka, I mean, my goodness, what a great pick there. And at 19, for him to be there that late in the draft did shock me. And a lot had him as the number one wide receiver in this year's draft. And I really like the pick. And I think that looking down the road 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, I think a lot of Buccaneer fans will also agree, even if they're in disbelief right now.
Absolutely. I was on the same page as you. I was actually doing a live stream with a co-host of mine, Peter Blake, on the Sports Web, and we were anticipating the pick. And I'm like, it's got to be Jahad. I mean, if it's not Jahad, it's got to be a defensive player. And then the pick came in, and I just looked, and everybody go back to that live stream. It's the funniest thing because people were commenting like, Louis, look, the vibe changed for Louis. I'm like, yeah, absolutely it did, because I was – so, Chris, I did a lot of research on Jahad Campbell. I was beating that drum because now I'll get to this later on in the show, but, inside linebacker is a position where I feel like they needed to address because, again, like Mike Evans, Levante David is not going to be here much longer, and I appreciate every snap he takes. I appreciate every tackle he makes because we're watching greatness at the end of the day. That's why I wanted Jahad Campbell, because I felt like drafting a guy like Jahad, you can now pass the torch. He's everything we wanted Devin White to be. The kid can tackle. He's smart. He's got speed. He can bat balls at the line. He can play on the edge a little bit. So I was just like, this is the guy. And then they went Emeka Egbuka, and I was like, what are they doing? And then a part of me was just very upset. And then the other part of me was just like, Louis, relax. Let's do a deeper research on this kid. And I looked into him, and I was just like, this is the smart pick. This is the necessary pick, because we cannot go into this season and have the injuries that we had on offense where you have to rely on a rookie wide receiver, a rookie running back. That was tough, man. All of our wide receivers were banged up. Sterling Shepard was starting. That's scary, man. You take a look back at those games against the Niners, the Kansas City Chiefs when we needed our guys, and they weren't there because they were hurt. And I do think that this is not a lot of people when they heard the pick, they were like, "This is crazy. Why are we doing this?" And it made sense to me. We can't continue to rely on Mike all the time to come in and make these big plays because, like you said, Father Time is going to catch up. We can't rely on Chris all the time. Chris takes a beating, but he's such a bruising wide receiver like Debo Samuel. But we can't afford to lose him again. So I think this pick coming in, pairing him up with Jalen McMillan, really takes the load off guys like Mike, off the load off of guys like Chris as well. Now you can rotate these guys. You can have fresh wide receivers because this kid, to me, a lot of people are comparing him to Chris Godwin. I hate the comparisons. I don't like that stuff. There's one Mike Evans, there's one Chris Godwin, there's one Emeka Abuka. And just to have Emeka here to kind of learn from Chris and learn from Mike, as well as Jalen McMillan, man, we got our future locked up. So to me, this pick, I give it a strong B plus because again, I want a defense, but I give this pick a strong B plus. What's your grade?
On that particular pick, I'll also say the same because I did want defense, but there's a reason though why those guys that were still on the board defensively were passed on by the Buccaneers at 19, and that's because they wanted Emeka Abuka, and they also felt like later on in the draft they could address the cornerbacks and the edge rushers and those kind of guys, and then even tack on another receiver very late with their last pick in this year's draft with Tez Johnson. I think it was a good pick overall. I'll give my grade a little bit later on the overall draft class, but the pick there with Emeka Abuka, I'll give a B plus with optimism of potentially an A if he pans out how I expect him to. And, just another tool and another weapon for Baker Mayfield to have fun with. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. You're looking at Baker Mayfield. He's like a kid at the candy store, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's got any and every selection he wants right at his fingertips.
Yeah, and a lot of people too, Chris. I believe nobody's really talking about the tight end room. Colt, Kate Otten, Payne Durham, our tight end room. They really came on towards the end of the year, and we're seeing the emergence of Bucky Irvin. This is a scary offense, man. This is a very scary offense, and the youth of the infusion of youth at the wide receiver position because we can't really count on guys like Trey. He was a little disappointing. I thought he was going to have a breakout year this year, but apparently not. All right. Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame, round 2, pick 53. I was very happy with this pick. At the time, I wasn't, but he was on my draft board. I really liked him because you have to look back at who he's been up against. And a lot of people didn't like this pick because of the injury. I get it, but this kid's a ball hawk. He's very disciplined. He's not afraid to. He's got to control the hand movement a little bit because in the NFL you're not going to get away with that. But if you go back, and I keep saying this to everybody that didn't like this pick, go back to 2023 when he played against Marvin Harrison Jr. He shut him down, shut him down. I think it was only 2 catches for 24 yards or whatever the case may be. And what really stood out to me was him in the red zone. No touchdowns allowed. This kid, I'm predicting right now, I think he's out of the whole draft of this year's draft class. I'm predicting him to be the star out of the whole draft class. What do you say?
I mean, that's bold. I like it. I think he has the potential, based on this year alone, to have the biggest impact on the Bucs this year. I really do feel that way. One, because Jamel Dean on one side, and then Zion McCollum, who I think has proven himself to be that next guy. But this is a huge test and a huge challenge for Jamel Dean. And Benjamin Morrison comes in. He's got great size, great versatility. Also, unlike Jamel Dean, is a playmaker. He makes plays on the ball. He can come down with a pass, and he's not just going to knock the ball down when he gets a chance. He's going to try to pull it in and give the ball back to Baker Mayfield in the offense. I think Benjamin Morrison was a great selection there in the second round. I know he had the hip situation, but I was still shocked that he was there at pick 53. I did not think he would be there. Yeah. I thought he was going to go probably in the 40s, but to see him drop down to 53 is remarkable. And a lot of people had a first-round grade on him, even with what had happened. And I believe it was some kind of procedure on his hip to try to even that thing out. But I really like Benjamin Morrison there in the second round. And I think he's going to apply a lot of much-needed pressure on a guy like Jamel Dean, who, even when healthy, is just I hate to say it, but I think he's average at best. I really do. He's a freak athlete. He's very fast for his size, but as far as being a really good corner, I don't think Jamel Dean is that whatsoever.
Yeah, I think with the contract situation, I like Jamel Dean. I just want the Jamel Dean of old. If you remember when he was a rookie and he got smoked 2 weeks in a row, and then Bulls sat him down, and then
Yeah.
we've seen a completely different player. And then ever since he got paid, it's been lackluster at best.
Yep.
So yeah, he's definitely got some competition, as well as Jacob Parrish, another corner, round 3, pick 84. I like this pick a lot, Chris. I really, really do, just because of the simple fact this kid used to be a wrestler. If you go back and watch his game tape, he's very physical. Another one, he's got to kind of relax a little bit with the hand slapping, because that's not going to fly in the NFL. We all know that. But this kid's got some good strength. He's I think another one that's I think you're going to see how can I put this? I think you're going to see a lot of players on this defense with this infusion of these rookies coming in. I think you're going to see a lot of guys that are really going to have to step up. And there's no more cakewalking. The way this draft went, especially with all the corners, and Todd Bowles said it. You guys know as well as myself. What did he say? It's no surprise that we lacked depth at the corner position, and it was a position that, not in these words, I'm just, saying what he said. He said it himself. He also did say, too, we're going to take the best player available at round 1. And to a lot of people, Emeka Egbuka, was a very good, was one of the best players available. But going corner in the second and third rounds, did you kind of expect them to do that? Because I expected, because of the simple fact he said it himself. We lack depth at the corner position. So
I didn't think that would necessarily happen. I thought they would go corner or I should say corner or pass rusher 1 and 2, whatever order that ended up being. I don't know, but I didn't see round 2 and 3 taking cornerback out of Notre Dame and Benjamin Morrison, and Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State, another corner, the very next round. But those 2 picks back to back made me feel even better about the pick of Emeka Egbuka at number 19. Once I saw Egbuka and, 10 minutes go by and it set in with me, and I'm like, okay, good move for the Bucs in their future at the wide receiver position. But then I see round 2, Bucs take a corner, a really good one. Round 3, Bucs take another really good playmaking corner, a guy who's very aggressive, as you referenced, Louis. That made me even more happy and content with the pick of Emeka Egbuka at 19. And Jacob Parrish so far through rookie minicamp has made some plays. I'm hearing that he has a couple of interceptions, and he said after day 1, when he had his first interception, he wanted to go back out there. Day 2, get another interception, and guess what? He did just that. So this is the guy who comes in with a lot of confidence, and he's gritty. He's a little bit smaller, kind of like a Tyke Smith, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But I think Tyke is probably going to play more at safety this year. This should open up that door for Jacob Parrish to get more snaps at the nickel and in a position to be a ball hawk for this defense.
I agree. I think we're going to see a much improved Todd Bowles defense, in my opinion. And what they did with the first 3 picks, they really addressed holes that we needed to fill. And, moving on to the 4th round, with pick 121, David Walker, outside linebacker. I really like this pick. A lot of people sleeping on him, but I think it was 9.5 sacks. I want to say he had his final year or something like that. He was just an animal. Again, so the Philadelphia Eagles, they won the Super Bowl. Why? Because of 4 guys on that line and rotating those guys. I think you're going to see a lot of that with Todd Bowles this year. He's going to take that blueprint, but obviously the Eagles run a 4-3, I believe, and we run the like a hybrid version of a 3-4. You see who they drafted. You see the defensive line. You got guys like Diaby. You got Hassan Reddick. You got Anthony Nelson and so on. I think you're gonna, and the David Walker coming into play. Chris Braswell, who I think is gonna have a much better year. I think what he's trying to do is rotate these pass rushes to keep everybody fresh, because I think he's gonna put a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks this year. I think we're gonna see a little bit more. I forgot what the percentage is. I think he blitzes, about 48% of the time. I think we're gonna see that increase a little bit. And David Walker is definitely a guy, again, big dude, physical, athletic. I think a lot of people are going to sleeping on him, but I expect him to have a pretty decent year. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, he's like 6'2", 260, and even better news, I know you talked about, what was it, 8.5, 9.5 sacks? He actually had
Yeah,
10.5 last year,
10.5.
8.5 the year prior, and then 12 his first year at
Yeah,
University of Central Arkansas. So this is also a guy who had 4 forced fumbles last year, 6 pass deflections. He's going to be a guy that wreaks havoc and is going to be able to apply some pressure, not only on the field, but also in the locker room as well with other guys like Chris Braswell from the outside trying to take that next step too. This is a great pick. This is one of those picks that Jason Light, Bucs GM, has been very excited about and adamant about it. And it feels like to me, from what I've heard, I don't think he came out and just said this, but it kind of seems like David Walker there in the 4th round might have been his favorite pick.
yeah. I heard some. I think. What did he say that? I think I was
Something
listening
along
to.
those lines.
Yeah, I forgot what show he was on, but I heard him say something about that. Like he's very excited about David Walker, and
Mhm.
I am too. When I seen that pick come up, I was like, all right, yep, all right, I like that, And then going into the 5th round with the 157th pick, Elijah Roberts, defensive line SMU. This kid, I have a lot of respect for. This kid is what the Buccaneers locker room is all about. I was listening to an interview with him about how his mom raised him and to do the right thing. And this kid's he's got a good heart, good morals, and you need that in the locker room, especially this day and age. Not to trash any generations, but I mean, I feel like morals and a moral compass has kind of gone out the window. And then this kid, listening to this kid talk, man, you're just like, wow, this kid. I like that. He's positive for this locker room, and to add him with that defensive line with Logan Hall, who I think is going to have a pretty decent season this year. He had 5.5 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people are sleeping on Logan Hall, but he's in a contract year. I think he's going to have roughly around 8 sacks. I think you're going to see a much improved defensive line, especially with Elijah Roberts, because again, I'm going to say this. I really do believe that Todd Bowles is trying to rotate these guys and keep guys fresh because we had a lot of issues last year. Not only just injuries, but going into that playoff game, Chris, that defense
Mhm.
was on the field for 7 minutes at a time. And that wasn't just one game, it was other games too. We can't have that anymore. And you've seen guys just gassed out. There was no depth. Now you're looking at this defense with Kalijah Cansey and, we'll get into the big guy later on in the show. But you're looking at Vita Vea, Logan Hall, and now you're adding Elijah Roberts. Again, to me, this was a home run pick by Jason Light. What do you say?
I mean, there's this guy who was a team captain at SMU last year, graded out with PFF 91.2, second of all edge rushers in the FBS, which is huge. 7.5 sacks as well. This guy did a little bit of everything. I don't know if he's necessarily one of those flashy players that, oh, wow, he's going to wow you, but I think he's a solidified piece that will come in, do his job at a high level, and be one of those leaders in the locker room in the years to come. As you said, the Bucs look for that. That's the type of identity, the type of character they're looking for. And to add another guy who was the team captain in college last season doesn't hurt whatsoever. Just adds into that and the whole MO surrounding the Bucs and them trying to avoid, the guys that are outlandish or the guys that are causing or stirring up problems because they're me guys. They're all about the social
Right.
media attention. This is one of those guys that's going to
Kevin
come
White,
in.
not to mention any names.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yep, raise your hand. But anyway, so I think it's a good pick. I really do. And I think he's going to be one of those players that will come in and do his job at a high level. Not necessarily going to flash you or be flashy or try to wow you, but he's going to go in there and be an effective player. And he's going to be rotational and be very efficient when he does get those reps in, because the Bucs do have what could be a very loaded front seven now in this depth
Yeah.
chart. And that's something that you talked about with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what separates themselves. They had dogs, figuratively, from Georgia that go in there and they can just play a couple snaps, get taken
Oh, you
out.
mean the
Fresh guys come
Philadelphia
in.
Georgia Bulldogs? That's what I call them.
Yeah,
Dude.
I mean they do it. They get the job done. I mean, they really
Hey, they
do.
winded
So,
up drafting Jahad Campbell too, man. When I seen that,
uh,
that pissed me off even more. I was just like, you got to be kidding
yeah,
me.
that
But you
was the
know what,
thing.
Chris? They're a team that can afford to do that, and I understand why the Buccaneers didn't get Jahad Campbell. We need
Now,
players now, and that's the problem. And I was hearing through the grapevine that there was some other things that the Buccaneers didn't like about him. Supposedly, his other shoulder's banged up, and I know he had surgery done on his shoulder.
mhm.
And supposedly there was something with his other shoulder or his leg, something. And it's too bad because, like I said, I like Jihad a lot, but overall so far in this draft, I called it on a couple of episodes before the draft. I said I feel like the Bucs are going to go very defensive heavy, and they did here. But with the last pick, the 7th round, 253, Tej Johnson, I was a little upset about this pick because I'll say that to say this is because I feel like they needed to address the inside linebacker position. I love Dennis. I love that they went out and got Walker. Levante David is vouching for Walker, and I appreciate that. But I still feel like you needed to bring somebody in there to kind of help out because it's a position that's very important. The Buccaneers got beat down the middle a lot. Levante David can't be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And I think he did a fantastic job for his age and where he's at in his career. Unfortunately, we got decimated at that position with injuries.
Yeah.
I'm still happy with Tej Johnson just because of the simple fact. And again, this is one of those things, Chris, where I remained calm. I was just like, why? Well, what's the logic? Why would they go after him? Well, field position. He's a gadget player. Kick returns, punt returns, screens, what you name it, end arounds. Like this kid's got speed. He's a little small. He was the smallest player in the draft. How ironic the Bucs got the smallest and the biggest player in the draft, which is really cool. But I feel like this kid can definitely be a Swiss Army knife for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm going to go ahead and call it. You can be my witness. I think we're going to get either a kick or a punt return this year out of this kid to the house.
Wow. All right. Hey, that's bold. That's bold right there. And if the Bucs get that done, I would love to see that. The last one I recall was Michael Spurlock?
Michael Spurlock, yeah.
Yep. Against the Atlanta Falcons years ago. Dude.
Yeah, years, buddy.
2008 or something? Maybe 11. Maybe it was 11.
I think, I want to say maybe 11, 12, 13, within that vicinity there. No, not 13. That was too late.
Let's see here. What year was that, dude? That was awesome.
That doesn't bother me now. I want to say it was between 10
07.
and 12. 07, really?
Yep. 2007, December of 2007.
Wow, that's a
90 yards.
Time.
Yep.
Wow, that's a long time, buddy. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put the good juju out there. I'm going to put that vibe out there, the good energy. Tej Johnson's going to bring one back to the house. I'm telling you right now. But again, I like the pick.
I want to see it.
I like the pick
there. Yeah, I think it was worth a flyer in the 7th round. I think that if he can withstand the hits or just be shifty enough to where he's not going to get that hit that much, he could be an upgrade over Trey Palmer. Yes. Most importantly, in special teams. I thought Sean Tucker was decent last year when he got his opportunity, but Trey Palmer was a bit of a disappointment last season for me. And I'm pulling for the guy, but he didn't do enough for me. So Tej Johnson, he's a very confident guy from what I hear too. I heard that he was actually really close with Bo Nix and was roommates with Bo Nix, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And he and Bucky Irving had become really good friends there at Oregon. And Bucky had told him something along the lines of, hey, man, you got to put it out on the field because Tej Johnson was talking about how he's going to be this and be that and be this great. And Bucky's like, hey, man, we got to see it on the field. Saw him play a couple of times, and it was good after that. So Tej Johnson, 7th round, I really like him in the mix. And more importantly, with the rules changes and all, I think it's going to be very beneficial in special teams.
Oh, yeah. I feel like if we can really get the blocking up front right away for him, and we can I think he can definitely break a few to the house, man. I'm just saying. Just saying. I think he can break a few to the house. All right. So I got to ask you, Buccaneers rookie free agent signings. Who are a couple of guys that really stand out for you? For me, it was Desmond Watson. I actually wanted the Buccaneers to draft him. I don't think it would have been a waste of a draft pick just because of the size, the stature. And like a lot of people are like, well, this is where common sense, Chris, isn't so common with people. They're like, oh, well, he's too big to play in he's too big. He's going to gas out with the Buccaneers. It's too hot. You do realize he played for the Florida Gators. I'd like to think that weather is still the same there where they're playing, So
and he went to high school in the Tampa area.
Exactly. So I'm not really expecting him, Chris, to play every single down, maybe 15 to 20 snaps. Mm-hmm. But he's so big, and a lot of people are like, well, he's got to really slim down now. I think you get him down to like 400 pounds and just let him with the 15 to 20 snaps. That's what makes him a run stopper. That's what makes him blow up the interior of that line.
Is that size? Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take two dudes to block him, as long as he can get his fundamentals down, as long as he can stay
Mhm.
disciplined and take that fat and turn it into muscle. I think he's gonna be imagine being a center or a guard, Chris, knowing that that's your task, seeing big 56 check in. What's your thought process, man? Like, you're just like, damn, man. Like, and then you
Don't
got
fall
big
down on
Vita.
my ass.
Yeah, who exactly?
Yeah.
Who running backs are gonna be wanting to run away from him? I don't want him to fall on me. Are you kidding me? He'll kill me.
Yeah, dude. Even if he's not being, like, extremely physical, it's gonna hurt, dude. He could just
Yeah,
fall on you just
that's a big
unintentionally.
dude. What is he? 6'4", 6'5"?
I
He
think
came
he's
into the
6'6", dude, if I'm not
wow.
mistaken. Yeah.
6'6". He's down to
Let me
430
double
pounds.
check.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's a big man. And then playing alongside with Vita Vea, another big Samoan. Like, we see Vita, what is he? 360, 380 around that, and we see him
Yeah.
bulldoze right through offensive linemen. If this kid can just putting him with Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey, I'm telling you, man, that front seven's a lot of people are gonna sleep on this team, man, but they're coming. They're coming,
Even
man.
if even if he's just a guy that only gets 10% of the snaps, like, 3rd
You're
and
still
inches,
scared as a
4th and
lineman though,
inches.
Chris, seeing him come in.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't imagine. And have Vita Vea out there too. You
Yeah,
could have
that's
Vita
scary.
Vea, Desmond Watson side by side, then have 2 of your quicker guys on the outside over here, bring your linebacker or safety down in the box. What are you doing? I mean, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
And then again, Logan Hall, he's not small, man. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, he's a
He's
big
a
dude
big
too.
boy. Yeah, you
Yep.
know what I'm
And
saying?
then
So, like,
just think, oh no, I'm gonna blank on his name. Nelson, Anthony Nelson,
yeah,
another
Anthony Nelson.
dude.
Yeah,
That'd be
long
sick.
reach, man. He
Yeah,
saved Todd Bowles' job against the Carolina Panthers that
he did.
last
Yep.
year. I
The
don't care what
fumble.
anybody says. Yeah, the fumble. So again, this to me, this defense is very much improved. So a guy like Desmond Watson for me. Also, I have to say it, Shiloh Sanders. I thought I was actually shocked that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got him,
Me
Chris.
too.
I didn't think it was gonna happen. I wasn't even thinking about him. I just figured, a team like the Ravens or like a team like the Patriots, somebody that really needed defense. I didn't think the Bucs would really go after him. But from what I hear, he's a lot different than his brother in that family. Like, he has the same characteristics, but he's a little bit more humble.
Mhm.
I think he fired his father as his agent, supposedly. I don't know how
Yeah,
true
he
that is.
did.
Wow.
That's what I had heard as
I
well.
don't
Yeah.
blame him. It's a circus, but he's wearing 28, which I'm okay with.
Vernon
You
Hargraves, man.
Yeah, but work done. Vernon Hargraves had no business wearing 28, and I knew
That's true.
when
Yeah.
he wore 28, I had a bad feeling about him. I was just like, I don't like that on him.
He
I'm
only
like,
made
this
one huge play. Do you remember what it was?
when it was Bruce Arians' first year as a head coach, was the first game against the 49ers when he picked the ball off and returned it for a pick
That
six.
too. That too. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers game. Christian McCaffrey on the goal line. Somehow
Oh
Vernon
yeah, that's
Hargraves
right.
shoved him
Yeah.
out, dude. I don't
Yeah,
know how he
I
did
remember
that.
that. Yeah, I remember. I don't even know where he is. I think he's with the Texans or something like that.
Oh, if he's
Uh
even still in the league, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. But for me, again, Shiloh Sanders, I like that signing because he can hit and he's not afraid to lower his shoulder. He hits clean. He seemed like he's disciplined on the field, and I think that's a good experiment, like a good project for Todd Bowles. And I think he's in the right situation with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He signed a 3-year deal, so we'll see what happens. Who is some of the rookie free agents that stick out to you? I mean, I know those are the two most popular ones, but
Yeah.
for me, like that.
Those are the two most popular one, and then we're talking about linebacker position. You have John Bullock out of Nebraska,
Yeah, there was
and
another
the
one.
guy Warren Peoples out of southeastern Louisiana, another outside linebacker. Maybe something there, but yeah, Desmond Watson and Shiloh Sanders, the two that, because when you're looking at these guys, more than likely practice squad guys, and having that popularity and the size with Desmond Watson, and then the popularity and the leadership skills that Shiloh Sanders is allegedly depicting here early on in his tenure with the Bucs. That's what's going to
Yeah.
separate these guys from just being a practice squad guy to someone who could potentially be on the verge of making the 53.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this year's season, Chris. I really am. I'm excited to see a lot of people don't like watching the preseason. I love watching the preseason just because of the simple fact. Last year when I was watching the preseason, I seen these guys coming in for the Bucks, and I'm like, wow, nobody really wows me here. There's really no,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the defense, nobody really impressed me. And I was kind of concerned because at the end of the day, Chris, that's our depth playing. and obviously a lot of these guys are playing for a job and stuff. But at the end of the day, Chris, that was our depth. But this year, I'm very excited to see all these rookie free agents that they signed playing. I'm excited to see the 2025 draft class. So with that being said, this year's 2025 NFL draft class for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What's the grade you give? I gave them a B plus, a solid B plus. I wanted to go with an A, but they didn't address the inside linebacker position. I give them a B plus.
I don't know if you saw my note cards or anything like that, but I was rocking with the B plus as well. I
Yeah.
thought that the draft, you could argue an A. I think if you're in the C's, you got to lay it down. You're doing something
Yeah.
wrong. Something's going on over there.
Anybody who does it with the C's, it's because they don't like Jason Light as a GM. I've come to that realization, man. I've seen people, even like on the sports web, we talk to some people and some of the comments that come rolling in, they're talking about, oh, Jason Light's a terrible GM, this and that. And I'm just like, how is he a terrible GM? Do you not see the last? Are you still going back to like Roberto Aguayo and all those guys? Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to hit on every single pick, but Jesus.
It feels like he has been, though.
Yeah, man. He's been money, dude. I mean, really? Look at this year's, not this year's, but last year's draft class. How that turned out. Jalen McMillan. I don't even need to say anything else. Jalen McMillan was a steal, in my opinion. Bucky Irvin. The list goes on. And so to sit here and say, oh, I give it an F, a C, man, you're not watching the games, and clearly you don't know the players. That's how I say it. So like I said, B plus all the way around, man. Strong
I think B plus for sure. If they wouldn't have taken the back-to-back corners in round 2 and round 3, Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish, I might feel a little bit different and probably rock with just a flat B. But you know what? Taking the back-to-back corners and both guys that were much higher on draft boards and scouting and stuff of that nature, and their draft profiles being a lot higher than where they were taken, that's why I gave them a B plus for sure.
Absolutely. The 2025 Buccaneer season is creeping up on us quickly. I'm going to try and make it down there. Well, I'm not going to try it. I'm going to make it down there for the Buccaneers and Patriots. It's just a matter of, figuring out when the schedule comes out, the day and time, because we're trying to launch here the 508 podcast where we're going to, talk about a little bit about the Patriots, trying to get some media credentials for that. That'd be pretty cool. But again, I'm not a Patriots fan, but I got to get my foot in the door somehow, some way.
Absolutely, man.
I got to ask you before we wrap this up, and this is a little thing that I do called the State of the South. In your mind, is there any team, you've seen the draft for the Panthers, the Falcons, the Saints, who are now considered, in my opinion, the laughingstock of the NFC South. To me, very irrelevant. But then again, I'm not going to talk my crap. I am humble in victory and defeat. The State of the South, how you feeling about it? Are you is there some teams that worry you? Do you think the Falcons, any of our division opponents got a little bit better? For me, Atlanta does not really impose a threat to me because I still say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the better team. We just, unfortunately, some things happened, in those 2 games last year. The one team that I am a little nervous about, and I'll go ahead and say it on the show, and I hate to do it, but I think they're going to split against the Carolina Panthers. I think the Carolina Panthers have gotten a lot better. I think Dave Canales has got his finger on the pulse there. I like Dave. I liked him as a human being. I liked him as a coach. He was a little shaky in the beginning. Some questionable things, some questionable calls. I get it. Liam Cohen on another level, in my opinion. Unfortunately, what he did was wrong, but I mean, I'm not going to knock anybody for getting generational wealth for their family. The way he went about it was wrong, in my opinion. But he did a lot better job than Dave Canales. But I still feel in my mind that with the state of the South, I think the Carolina Panthers might be finishing in second place, and I think they're going to split. I think we're going to split the series with them.
Yeah, I mean, here's real quick on Dave Canales, head coach of the Panthers. So before his first game, like minutes before the first game at Tampa, when he was the OC, I went up to the press box. I got to the game a little earlier than usual, and they have like a buffet, and I'm blanking on the name now, but they've got the guy who's cutting up the meat, the carving station. I'm just standing up there in line. It's like 10:30 in the morning. I'm pretty early for media. And I look to my left and hear somebody talking, and it's Dave Canales. And I turn around to him and I said, "Hey, what's up, Dave? Chris Mathis, WDAE." And he was like, "Oh, hey, man, nice to meet you. Really, really cool to meet you." I said, "Yeah, man." I said, "Best of luck today and the rest of the season." Because I didn't want to take up his time, number one. Number two, I knew I wouldn't see him again more than likely unless something bad happened, like he got fired or had some kind of crazy press conference. So it's just like a quick hello, introduction, move on. And so I go to get my plate. He's still talking to me. He's like, yeah, man, I feel okay about it. I think by the bye week, I'll have a better feel for this team and we'll be able to figure some things out. But right now it's a little early for me to tell. I'm going to use the first couple of weeks as a way to kind of get implemented and try to figure out how to, run the offense. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, no doubt. So I went to go shake his hand and say goodbye again, because at this point, I was already turned around, ready to go get
Chris
the food.
Chris is very excited about this.
Yeah. I was ready to go turn around and get the food, and he's still talking to me about the offense. And here's what we're looking to do. And it was just so cool to see him be so open about it and such a genuinely nice guy, which unfortunately with today in general, and then also people in certain positions in life, which I think is just total BS. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are the GM of the Buccaneers or you take the trash, you work at a fast food joint, or you're a teacher, a broadcaster, whatever, a doctor. I think you should all treat people the exact same. It doesn't matter about anybody's title. As long as they're a good person, you should treat them the same, 110%. And I've always aimed to be that way. So I was a bit shocked, though, however, that he was still chit-chatting about it after I'd turned to go
crazy,
leave.
Though. That's cool because he acknowledged you. Yeah, you don't see that. He acknowledged you. So. You asked the question and you talked to him a little bit, and just for him to just sit there and continue that. Again, that's why I liked him as a human being. I thought he was very genuine in his press conference. And I said it when I was first starting this podcast. And I was just like, man, I looked at my co-host, Jay. I'm like, I really like this guy. Like, how can you hate him? Like, he's very genuine.
Yeah.
Like, it's just his energy brings good energy, because obviously you're down there. You've been at the press conferences with Byron Leftwich. That was dry.
Oh, that was bad.
It was dry.
I got to say this. I think that with Dave Canales, I think he did a pretty decent job being an offensive coordinator with the Bucs. I think his personality and being so positive and being a good people person helped him get that job in Carolina more so than his ability to call plays.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do. Which is crazy, but I think so. And then his ability to turn around the quarterback position, I think that was his MO. That's what separates him from the rest, is that he was able to turn around Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Now Dave Canales turned around the guy in Bryce Young too. So
that was like a resurrection of Bryce Young, because he was on the. Everybody was just like, wow, the Carolina Panthers got fleeced in that draft, this and that. And I don't know what the young kids are saying, the terminology. So if I use the wrong word, whatever, I don't know. I just
fleece. No, I think fleece is the word, dude.
Okay. Because my girlfriend, she's a school nurse. She works in the nurse department. She's a nurse, and she tells me all these lingos that the kids are saying. So I kind of pick up on it. You got to stay relevant.
Yeah, you got to.
But yeah,
one thing is you don't want to be cooked. As long as you can avoid being cooked, you're okay.
You don't want to be cooked. Again, I appreciate you coming on, Chris, as always. I love doing this. We usually do this, beginning of the season and then at the end of the season, midway. Yeah. It's cool. I appreciate you coming on. I'd like to get you and TKras on here because I got some questions for you, and I think TKras would back me up. Have you watched Scarface yet?
Dude. Wow. No. I've seen some clips, but still haven't seen it, dude.
Wow.
I know. My problem is the runtime, dude.
I hear you.
I need to do it, though. I got to do it. That needs to be a homework assignment by the preseason.
I'm telling you, by the preseason, whenever there's a night, you and your lady are home. I don't know what type of movie she likes because Scarface is it's kind of graphic. It's a little much, but there is like a little bit of a love story, if you will.
Okay.
You and your lady, make her some dinner and say, hey, babe, we're going to watch this movie, Scarface.
All right.
It's a long movie. It's about 2.5 hours, I want to say, but it's well worth it. It's actually in my top 5 for one of my favorite movies. And I watched that movie way too young. I think I was like 11 years old when I watched that movie. I had no business watching that movie because it's about cocaine dealing and like the stuff you're seeing. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. But it's a fantastic movie, probably one of my favorite movies, top 5 of all time. But yeah, man, we got to get TKras on here to kind of just do like a. I like to pick his brain a little bit and try and not cook you on the movies, but I think we need to do some trivia to see if you're really watching these movies.
All right, sounds good. And to answer your question real quick, I'll make it 30 seconds or less. I'm not even worried, but I'm still thinking about the Atlanta Falcons because of their luck last year.
Okay.
and they did address the pass rusher position, but not so worried about the quarterback position anymore. Some way Kirk Cousins was cooking up on the Bucs defense last year. I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to sweep the Bucs by any means. Saints are the bottom of the barrel in the NFC South, without a
Agreed.
doubt. Even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, I'm not worried. And I'm going to go Carolina. I think Carolina could be interchangeable with Atlanta, but I think Carolina has more of a ceiling this year than Atlanta
Right.
does, believe it or not. I just don't know if they're going to be as consistent. If they're average, I think Atlanta's a little bit better. But if they're able to hit the ceiling, I'm more worried about Carolina than the Falcons.
Yeah, I agree. I think this division is going to be very competitive this year with 3 teams. And in the Buccaneers, again, you can see in their draft class, they're going defense because in order to win a championship, you have to build a team to beat the division first
Yep.
and and your schedule too. So it's going to be a fun season. As always, Chris, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, check me out on social medias. I keep it simple. It's uniform on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, at the Chris Mathis, THE Chris Mathis. I appreciate you guys for listening, and thanks for the invite, Louie. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. You guys can also catch him on the drive with TKras. It's a good show. I know I haven't been calling in, but I'm listening. Believe me, I'm
All right,
always
brother.
stuck in traffic, and I got a lot of stuff. But man, TKras, he's been getting a little spicy lately, huh? Like
Yeah,
some of
yeah,
his
dude.
takes,
He's
I
heating it
like it
up.
though. I
He's
like it
heating it
though.
up,
I like
man.
it. He's had enough. He's getting a little bit older. No nonsense. I like that. All right, Chris. I
Appreciate you, man.
appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you guys checking us out. Hopefully you can see a little bit more of Chris. And like I said, make sure you guys go follow him and stay tuned later on tonight. We're doing all walks of life, which is going to be fun. And that's it, man. Chris, again, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.